Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. Welcome to this edition of Mods Worth Noting. Depending on how much you want to put into the game, you may or may not be interested in crop-dependent rolling. So what this does is it requires rolling after sowing to have the highest yield, and it lists some crops it doesn't need, for example, corn, sunflower, cotton, and a few more don't need rolling, but then everything else does. And you can also adjust the list of crops directly in the script. So if you're comfortable editing the Lua script, you can do that. And it does have some instructions further below, it says. So if you enjoy rolling and want to include it more realistically in your particular instance of Farming Simulator, you can use this mod. I'm always a sucker for productions, especially unique ones, so Raspberry Productions certainly is that, and it introduces raspberries into the game. So you'll have raspberry bushes, and you'll harvest them. It does not show how or show any pictures of them being harvested, so I don't know if you would use something like a grape or an olive harvester, since they're bushes similar to the trees and the vines, or if you'd be doing something else. But you can grow a raspberry garden, and perhaps they just produce like a greenhouse, I don't know. And then you can see there's a raspberry factory included that lets you produce raspberry jam and raspberry juice. Making things a little bit easier, there is lazy distribution, which basically does the auto distribution between things that wouldn't normally. So you've got a lazy egg, honey, wool, and goat milk distribution, which would go for your animal pens. You have water, seeds, solid and liquid fertilizer, which would then keep your greenhouses moving appropriately. And then some distribution for milk, buffalo milk, manure, and slurry. And then you do have what they call large silos distribution, which I assume does other things to other productions so that you can take crop off your field and then it'll just service your productions there. So move your corn, move your wheat to the bakery, things like that. And then there is a wood distribution as well. So for your sawmill, you can just throw wood into a silo, a storage area, and then it will distribute it and keep that sawmill operating. So a few mods worth notings ago, I had something about auto gates. This is another version, auto open intelligent gate control from another modder. From what I can see, the difference is there's a bit more control, I think, on the multiplayer side. So it has multiplayer support, which includes farm-based security checks, so that if you walk onto someone else's farm that isn't yours, you can't suddenly open their barns and things like that. And then each player can enable or disable the function individually in multiplayer. So if you don't want your gates and your doors to auto open, they won't do that. So this gives you two choices if you want to go ahead and try to implement that, depending on what scenario best fits. Water points introduces different ways to get water. There's still daily upkeep prices and things like that, but you've got fire hydrants from North America, Europe, and Asia. You've got hand pumps and wells and other things. So depending on how you want to get water on your farm, this gives you various ways to do that. In my mind, this has limited application, but I suppose it depends, what you want to do and what is interesting for you. And that's the glory of Farming Simulator. You can make it your own. So they have hydraulic bollards, which are the posts that you can see down here, and most of them, as you can see, are placed, in like a parking area or a driveway. Fine, you can keep people out of your farm at certain points. There's one screenshot that has it like near a field, like in essence, like right there. I guess it's just a road next to a field. I don't know. But either way, if you want those, there's a way to get these now, and there's 3 configurations: manual activation, automatic activation, or time. It opens at 9 p.m. and closes at 8 a.m. And keep in mind, I believe they're talking about when it closes, that means or when it opens, they come out. So obviously, and then they'll go into the ground at 8 a.m. so you can start going or working wherever you've placed them. So for the many, many people in the world who love coffee, I am not one of them. You have coffee production available to you here now. It's not quite as exciting as I think some people would want. You're not growing them in a field, you're putting them in a greenhouse, but you're able to grow coffee beans, then roast the beans in the roaster factory, and sell the beans in the coffee shop. So, you're selling coffee beans and having fun with that. All right, I'm not sure how I may have missed this one. It does say it's version 1005, but it is showing up as new and not an update. Maybe I didn't miss it and they just posted it that way as a an updated version or something. But Hardcore Balance Mod does some stuff, and it basically makes the gameplay more difficult. In their mind, saying making it more interesting and balanced. But I always would be concerned, I guess, about something like this is like, well, if you disagree with something they're doing, it doesn't seem like you can turn things on and off. So if we look through this, I think there's definitely a lot of interesting things that I've seen. We'll talk through them. So there's disabling time acceleration only during sleep. You've got to play, I assume, in real time at 1x speed. You can't do anything else. And you can speed things up at night. It's necessary for you to construct a farmhouse. So you can't just put a sleep trigger wherever you want and say, hey, I've saved myself money. You have to construct a farmhouse. And I'm thinking based on the next point that there may be more to it than even that. So it removes sleep and wardrobe triggers from all farmhouses except those that need to be constructed. So without using it, I don't know that I can effectively comment on that, but you can give it a try and see what happens. Price the field reduction after purchase by 50%, and then it notes after the sale, the price is restored. So basically, you will not, in essence, get most or all of your land value back if you buy a field and then decide, well, I don't want that field anymore. I don't like working it. You can sell it, but you're going to sell it basically at 50% of what you bought it at. And then if someone else wants it or you want to buy it back, the sale price has gone back up to the full amount. No fast travel. Player position is remembered. That's easy enough. So you got to walk, run, drive to everything. Removed vehicles from contracts, so you can no longer borrow the vehicles with a contract. You have to own the vehicle to do the work, or you can't do the contract. Added a penalty for canceling a contract in the amount of 50% of the reward. That's self-explanatory. The emergence of new contracts has been improved, and doesn't obviously explain what that means, but I'm sure there's more of them, more variety. Missions to remove rocks, deadwood, and wood transport are now generated once per hour, probably because those could be, for some people who love that, easier, and so you don't get them that often. Interest rate on the loans, 15% per month. Your initial credit limit is 0. Credit limit increases as you purchase farmlands and buildings. So again, introducing the reality of lending and banking where you need some collateral to get a loan. And if you own nothing, you can't get a loan. And then you have some real interest rates. So if you just let your loan sit there, it's like, I got $500,000 and I bought a bunch of land with it and it's going to take me 10 years to pay off. You'll be paying 15% per month, which is a lot. The output mode of production cannot be changed. The default is storing, so you can't have your productions auto-distribute or auto-sell. The price of decorational trees has increased by 10 times, so you can no longer put things all over your farm and beautify it without it really costing you. Fixed incorrect operation of wood chippers. Now the mass of outgoing wood chips is equal to the mass of loaded woods. Less wood chips. The maximum pickup mass by hands has been reduced to 50 kilograms, which is still a lot. I think it's around 100 pounds. So you can't do whatever the default was. I don't know what that is. And the fermentation time of silage is 1 month, regardless of the economic difficulty. So a lot of things that get changed. But if this is something you're looking for, or want to give a try in one of your save games, pretty cool addition. But like I said, if I missed it before, I apologize, where someone might be like, this came out 4 months ago. It may have. It's the first time I've seen it. It's marked as new, and it's certainly one that I wanted to mention. Yield Tracker takes what I've done offline outside the game and kind of puts it in the game to some degree, which is really, really cool. So it keeps track of your harvests across different fields and years. So it'll log total fields by crop, field number, and year, so you can monitor your farm's performance. Now, the challenge here, it shows, a field, and it's saying, chaff, total harvest 20, and you can see 20 years here. Like, they're not doing anything with crop rotations. It does talk about, you can see the text above, if you're looking for a simple way to monitor field productivity and plan better crop rotations, Yield Tracker has you covered. They don't actually give you a screenshot that shows that. All of the screenshots show all 20 years of the same crop on the same field. So what I would have liked to have seen for sure is a screenshot that shows that, and shows when I have corn selected, for example, that there's like 5 years of the 20, and then show that same field, and then, hey, I've rotated soybeans on there or something, and you can see the tracker. But, it gives you your total yield when you did it. So not everything I do for financial tracking or whatever when I'm doing that, but it gives you some good information, in essence, a little bit like a report within your game. Also, keep in mind it supports 19 fill types, so could be some fill types in the game that it does not support. Not something I'd likely use, because it looks like its usage is really more in logging, but frankly, because I don't know that I understand enough about tractors to really know how to effectively use it. But hey, if you're willing to learn, I suppose it's something that might be of value. So split brakes, I guess, basically allows you to brake each rear wheel independently of each other, which comes into play when working with heavy loads and things like that. And that is it for this edition of Mods Worth Noting. Definitely a prolific one. I'd probably say the highest number of mods that I've presented in an edition since FS25 came out. So definitely a lot of interesting things to take a look at. Again, I'm not really ever focusing on vehicles or buildings. There's always a lot of those, and that's really just, do you like how it looks? Do you like the brand? There's nothing magical about those, which is why I just kind of let people find them on their own, because I'm sure if you want case or something, you'll just go into search for case, and it'll bring up all the cases, and it's easy, where some of these other things might be a little more difficult to find if you don't know what they're called or that they're out there. Hope you find something that you enjoy here, and I will see you next time.